Okay, good morning, everyone. Welcome to today's CDBG office hours. I'm Mike Phillips, Federal Program Specialist. Also on the webinar, we have Mimi Early, our CDBG Section Chief, Susan Holt, our CDBG Program Manager. We have our CDBG Specialists, Felicity Gosser, Crystal White, and Tanner Wolverton. And we also have from our ICF team, Lexi Brew, Ann Schmidt, and Lauren Polk. If you are unfamiliar with Zoom, here's how you can ask a question to our team. In your user dashboard, there should be a Q&A chat icon, and you can use that to ask questions. We ask that you use the Q&A as opposed to the chat. You can ask questions anonymously, but if you want to leave your name, organization, or the region you're associated with, this just helps us, track follow-up and keep questions grouped together. We will read questions out loud through the presentation and provide answers if possible. And all questions will be saved and recorded as part of the public record. And with that, we'll get into our program updates. I'll pass it off to Mimi.
Thank you, Michael, and good morning, everyone. For the CDBG program updates for the 2022, we had 42 recommended for award, 2 are currently routing, and 40 approved. For the 2023 NOFA, we dropped the NOFA September 29th. It was for approximately $19 million for the over-the-counter waitlisted projects. The application opened on October 30th, 2023, and the application will close December 29th, 2023. Alrighty, for the CDBG program updates, just upon review of the past application questions, we noticed that the question underneath the bid ready plans and specs was missing. Please be advised, in addition to the posted question, applicants must also upload a certification from the jurisdiction that the bid docs are ready. So bid ready plans and specs, do you have the bid ready plans and specs? Upload those plans and specs, cost estimate, timeline, letter from the engineer, architect certifying bid ready plans and specs, and then just upload that certification from the jurisdiction that the bid docs are ready. And the 2023-24 resolution has a minor change and has been updated and added to the files tab as of October 31st, 2023. And I'll pass it along to, is it Ann or Felicity?
I can read this one. I'm very excited to announce that finally we have what we call internally our augmentation memo ready, which is that grantees who have construction projects that experienced unanticipated cost increases can, by the end of the week, we'll be sending out instructions and a memo about how those grantees can apply for an additional amount of funds to cover those unanticipated cost increases. So that is coming by the end of the week, and it'll have a list of what you need to qualify for that added funding, what our priorities are, and what the instructions are for submitting that request. So please keep your eyes open. We will be sending that out via email, posting it onto the eCivis solicitation sites, and then also once we get it ADA remediated, getting it on our website. So that you should see that in your inboxes by the end of the week. And I'll pass it back over to you, Mike, to go through the questions that were unanswered during our October listening session.
Yeah, this is the questions from the 2024 NOFA listening session that we didn't have time to answer, so we're just going back and recapping. So the first question was, so these are more comments than questions. I would ask that applicants be allowed to apply for 2 OTC applications as long as they do not go over $325 million total. For instance, a housing program and ED program for up to $1.5 million. So many types of projects and programs have been moved to the OTC umbrella this year. So it feels very limiting. The answer to this was, thank you for the feedback, but we won't be allowing more than 1 OTC application. We want to allow as many jurisdictions to come in as possible, and applicants will need to prioritize. This next question was on pre-development. Pre-development use of CDBG and then not using CDBG funding to complete the project is an issue for very small rural jurisdictions that do not have other options for infrastructure or public facility projects. So please take this into consideration in the future for being considered for awarding OTC infrastructure public facility projects. And thank you for that feedback. This another question was on, let's see, for a single OTC application, could it include an infrastructure component along with multiple housing assistance components? Or would we have to select one for the application, infrastructure or housing assistance? And the answer was an applicant would have to choose one OTC application to submit, in this case, either an infrastructure project or a housing program. Let's see, this question was, can you please clarify if we apply under the competitive solicitation for public services as proposed, we can only apply for one public service for up to $250,000. And the answer to this was an applicant can apply for up to 2 applications total. This may include 1 OTC and 1 competitive or 2 competitive. The 2 competitive can include 2 public service applications, 2 planning applications, or a public service and a planning application. So this next question was, are you going to post the unanswered questions from the listening session here? And the answer was, we are working on getting responses to these any questions. We'll have them ready for this, during this office hours. Okay, that was it for the listening session recap. The listening session recording is available on our new YouTube playlist. I sent out an e-blast for that, and I'll post it in the chat here once we get through this recap, but it is available on our new YouTube channel. Okay, so let's get into the Q&A recap from last week's office hours. This first question was on the 2024 NOFA, and the question was, we have a jurisdiction has asked us to consider their project for the 2024 NOFA. They need help for funding for a planning project for a fire hydrant planning project. They are LMA eligible. I was wondering about eligibility for the 2024 NOFA. FYI, they don't have fire hydrants, and they need a system to rebuild in their downtown. And the answer was, for the 2024 NOFA, we will have a competitive application for public and planning services. The funding amounts are anticipated to be $250,000 per award. For planning, it can be a feasibility study or pre-development cost type of planning. If you reach out to your HD representative, we can set up a meeting to do a brainstorming session, get more details about the need of that community and what the community wants to implement. Okay, and then our next question was on program income set aside for 2024. The question was, we have PI, we are committing to a project in 2024, but we'll be submitting a 2023 application. The PI is available now. Are we okay to move forward with the 2023 and still setting aside the PI for the 2024? The answer to this was, we just asked that you have a plan for the program income. It looks like you have a plan and have every intention of adding it to a future application in 2024, and that is satisfactory. And that was it. Not many questions from last week's office hours. So let's go ahead and get into our live Q&A. And it does not look like we have any questions for now.
I wish I knew a good joke to tell.
Let me grab this playlist here in a second. Brandy asks, so has the budget and application trainings been posted to the new YouTube channel? And yes, it has. I'm about to link it into the chat right here. So that's our playlist to our new YouTube channel. And yeah, under that playlist, you should find all of the pre-recorded 2023 NOFA webinars, and then also our recordings of our live sessions, including the application and budget webinar. And then also, while we're posting this all to our website, we have put the slides to all of these presentations into the eCivis solicitation files tab for the 2023 main application, just like kind of as like a temporary place to put them all so that you can have access to them as soon as possible. So I'll go ahead and link that as well. So you got a question from Angel. Can a jurisdiction apply for the NOFA if they just received the 2022 award? If yes, how much must be expended and by what date?
I can
I
take
was
that one. Oh,
you
sorry.
want-
Go ahead,
No,
Mimi.
go ahead, Tanner. Go ahead.
Okay, sorry, my first time here. So the 50% rule will only apply for competitive applications. So you'll have to either spend at least 50% of your planning project funds or 50% of your public service project funds prior to application, but it will not be applying for the over-the-counter funds.
Thank you, Tanner. So we got a question from Kelly. So we are looking at submitting a PI application for an implementation project, energy efficiency lighting for our social services building, which I think it would qualify due to serving an eligible population. I hope this would be an eligible project.
I think it would be best to talk to your HCD representative. You could find the representatives on our website under the Contact Us tab. But as you describe it, it may be eligible, but please reach out to your representative.
Yeah. Let's see. Question from Jade. Would it be possible to have housing rehab project be done fully as a grant? Is there a dollar amount limit or income qualification limit, such as 50% or lower, where a full grant could be awarded instead of a grant or loan combo?
I could take that one as well. So HCD doesn't, or a CDBG doesn't mind if you do a loan for your housing rehab or a grant. It is the jurisdiction's choice. Is there a dollar amount limit or income qualification? Or a full grant could be awarded instead of a grant loan. So yeah, it doesn't depend on, it just depends on jurisdiction preference.
And just to add to that, it depends on what you have set up in your guidelines.
Yeah.
For the housing rehab program that you are running and what limitations that is set and approved by your governing body at the local jurisdiction. So take a look at your guidelines and see how it's set up. And then, yes, everything else that Tanner stated applies.
And I'll say one more thing, which is that if you're looking to change your housing rehab guidelines, we do have new sample guidelines posted on our website, and I will try to get the link to those into the chat.
Thank you. Let's see, question from Lori. Any updates on what you might be considering regarding the limits for the 2024 NOFA for the competitive part of the program? I believe you have some supportive feedback to increase this section.
Lori, I know that we did our recap on our listening session. So the limits are going to remain the same. So for the competitive, for the 250, for the planning and the public service, if that's what you're asking.
Thank you. Let's see. Next question is from Angel. What would be the Economic Development Business Loan Program application due date?
If you're speaking about for the 24 NOFA, we will still keep it the 60 days. So we will open the application for a 60-day period of time. And that's across the board for any programs and projects that you may be applying for. So we'll open it, we'll drop the NOFA. We give you 30 days to review the NOFA. And then after the 30-day review period, we open the application for 60 days.
Again. Lori did have a joke for us. Have you heard about the guy who stole the calendar? Well, he got 12 months. That's pretty good, Lori. Alrighty, that looks like all the questions that we have in the queue. So give everyone a couple minutes to get any last minute questions. Kristen has a comment. So outside auditors keep asking for CDBG reports that are no longer required, and it's causing havoc.
I think Kristen is referring to the single audit auditors, or yeah.
Like there are other PI reports.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
What I've
Chris?
done in the sorry, Felicity. What
No,
I've
go
done in
ahead,
the
Tanner.
past is if I get a question from a grantee, I will kind of state that those are no longer required by our department. So hopefully that will satisfy your auditor.
Lori says on single audits, they just showed them eCivis and then provided them screenshots, and that has worked. Kristen says she used snips from the newsletters.
And you can, another option too, if the snippets, excuse me, if the snippet doesn't work, they can always email our general box, the CDBG at hcd.com, and we can, .gov, excuse me, and we can go ahead and just validate that we are not accepting those reports, if that will help.
And do you know that is a common problem with outside auditors not keeping up with the minutia of our requirements?
Mhm.
Looks like we had a question from Priscilla. If you have an open public service grant, then you can't apply for any other public service grant unless you have spent 50%, or does that apply to a public service with the same matrix code?
Priscilla, it applies for public service as an aggregate, so it doesn't apply directly to matrix to matrix code. So if you have more than one public service, it would have to be 50% spent as an aggregate, not matrix code to matrix code.
And Brandy just followed up on Kristen's comment. These CFIS reports are difficult to download if multiple departments need the report for accounting.
You have any insight on that, Felicity? I'm not really.
Not really. I was just gonna, I mean, this is new. This problem is new as of folks as of you mentioning it in office hours, Kristen, newly occurring to me as being a problem. So it's good feedback, and I don't know if there's something we can perhaps produce on our side that would be helpful. I think at this point, if you're struggling to prevent something to your auditor, reach out to your rep and we'll try to make sure you're getting what you need. I don't have another, and maybe there's something we can do going forward if we see this as a general trend.
Yeah.
I don't have more to say than that at this time, but thank you for bringing it to our attention. And again, crowdsourcing is good. So it sounds like, Lori has figured out a solution of doing screenshots. If others have anything that they're doing for their auditors that is working, let the group know in the Q&A, and we can, that may be helpful.
Good. Comment from Janet regarding the auditors. She also had a year that they were asking for something that applied to the entitlement program. I can't remember what the document was offhand, but it took a lot of emails to finally convince them that they were asking for something that didn't exist for us.
Yeah, so this, as I said earlier, this is a common problem. So please reach out to us if you're having trouble convincing your auditors, and we may be able to clarify some of our requirements.
Or and also to validate that you're non-entitlement. Thank you, Lori.
Yeah, thanks, Lori. Alrighty, if there are no additional questions for our team, we'll go ahead and close out for today. Short session, but thank you everyone for your comments and engagement. We do appreciate it. And hope you have a good rest of your day and good rest of your week. And we'll see you back in 2 weeks on the 29th. Thank you, everyone.